Am I audible, sir?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Happy New Year to you, Mr. Thiru.
Happy New Year, sir. Thank you. Happy New Year to you and to your family.
Yeah, thank you. So, on behalf of everyone at FNI and myself, wish you and your family healthy, happy, and prosperous New Year 2022. If you have any audio problem, you can just type in chat window so that we know if there's a delay or you can't hear anything or any such thing happening. Okay, so I will be knowing that there is a problem with audio. Right, Thiru?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Then, just to know anyway about me, I've been into the programming or into the software for quite some time, few decades. Some way or other, every day it turns out to be doing some programming, computer programming. Okay. So I like Python, I like teaching Python, I like programming in Python. That doesn't mean that I'm expert in doing it. I keep learning. The most important thing is I keep practicing. Whatever we practice regularly, we will do that best. Meaning, if you don't do anything, just be silent or watching TV or clicking on a smartphone with Instagram photos. If we practice that on a daily basis, and that's what we'll be doing very well. So programming as such, and a Python programming or any language programming, a practice and a regular practice is very, very important. If we don't do practice, we will forget and we will have to revise the things again and again. So we'll be going through today introduction session, which means I will be giving you the intro from the systems point of view, what the systems are, hardware, software, a little bit of programming languages and things like that. In the next session we will be talking about the nuts and bolts of the programming to start with. But before that, I would like to know your background, meaning what you are doing right now. You're a student preparing for getting a job, or you're quite experienced in what you are experienced in, things like that, Thiru.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have nearly 14 years experience in protocol testing, network testing. So almost my career, I have done my manual testing only. So now I took a break actually due to family reason. So in that I want to utilize that this time, and everyone is migrating to Python. So even I'm a new. I want to consider me as a fresher with respect to Python. So even though I have experience, but I'm not experienced in programming side. So I just want to. I'm requesting you to consider me as a fresher, and yeah. So I want to proceed accordingly.
Okay, good. This is me. You are seeing my picture, right?
Yeah, I just want. Yeah.
Okay. Good, Thiru. Nice to see you. And so I won't be probably showing the video because I'll be sharing the board, and I'm sure you understand the bandwidth issue. So I'm switching off the video and we will be moving on to the class. All right?
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So good that you are into the protocol testing and you have done a lot of protocol testing, and so it makes my job real simple actually to start with actually. So,
Sorry to trouble you. Like, but you please consider me as a fresher only, sir, with respect to program.
true, true. Okay. So, first thing, writing programs or programming is very creative. Creative to say it's something like painting or speaking, like a politician. It's very creative, and of course a rewarding activity. Rewarding activity, the best thing we can compare from a childhood is like solving a math problem. The moment you solve a math problem, be it a simple multiplication or addition by yourself without taking anybody's help, you will feel really happy, satisfied. And that's the key benefit you get out of programming. You are doing probably some testing, or you are trying to develop something and you are struggling to do that. It will take some time, but then at the end of that activity you really feel that you have achieved something, and that's what a programming activity, the main thing about that. You can write programs for many reasons. That could be like to just live livelihood, to make money. That means writing an app or writing some scripts or developing some new software product and marketing it, selling it, or maybe starting your own startup company. Could be anything. So today's world, there is absolutely nothing you can do without software and without programming. That's how the world is. So you can start that from for living purpose or to solve a difficult data analysis problem. Data analysis, behind the word data analysis is the data, and analyzing deals with entire thing about the statistics. This statistics, definitely to start with what we have learned in 8th and 9th grades onwards. To start with, of course, there is a huge amount of statistics that is required for data analytics, and of course you can do the programming just to have fun, to help someone solve a problem. See, for example, this fun doesn't mean that something to joke about. It is like having really good feeling about, like, somebody says I can't access my computer, somebody says there is no ping response from my system, whatever. Then you write a small shell script and start doing, or rather solving that problem. So it could be any of these things. That's what a program probably will be doing, to say the minimum. Just to give you the background, you could ask, in fact what I encourage anyone who interacts with me, so feel free. Hello Shyam, good morning.
Yes sir, good morning sir.
How are you?
Doing good sir, how about you?
Yeah, very well. Happy New Year to you. Okay.
Thank you sir.
So from the system, computing system, basically there are systems all around us. Systems are there. Systems basically have something to have input and we have output, to put it in a simple way, and it could be many inputs, and that's what this system is about. It could be a weather system, it could be a digestive system, it could be a mechanical system, or it could be a computing system. So computing system, the word compute actually means just to calculate. This is how it started with. People started automating, or rather simplifying, the job of additions or multiplications and things like that initially. That's how the calculators started, and we had the calculators. They really changed the way people do the maths, today the latest or the greatest of or GDCs, graphics display calculators. They do almost what a computer does, but still handheld. And the leaders in this, Texas Instruments, Casio. We will come to what is the programming part in that if required as we go along. Afterwards, the computers really as a computing system. Having a mainframe computers, these are huge capacity, huge processing capability computers, really to munch huge amount of data and for a long time withstanding whatever are the memory requirements or the processing requirements. Then we are aware of PCs, personal computers, desktop computers, laptops, servers, whatnot. So from that background we understand that a computer system, or in fact any system calculating or other systems what we have stated, do have hardware as well as software. There could be simply just hardware systems only. Just hardware may not have sufficient software there to help hardware, but it does the simple things. It could be a relay operated device, or it could be something like a 555 IC based circuit. These are the simple just hardwares. So from there we have systems with hardware as well as a software. So this software, we have couple of things in this. This software can be operating system software and application software, and if you could classify any other type of a software. So this terminology comes with computer system. As we speak today, we have the systems around us. Everything is a smartphone with embedded operating system such as Android or iOS or whatever. So having said that, this systems do have operating system, has an application software or some other thing. So just to talk about what this particular hardware or software will have, I'm just going back to the fundamentals which are essential. So you have a box, and in that box you may have a CPU, and definitely you'll have something, a peripherals can be part of it, or oh, just a doubt, have you all been seeing my screen or no?
Yeah,
Everyone is able to see it? Okay. Yeah. So CPU, you have peripherals, and you have an external storage, and you have a network. This network could come under the peripherals as well, depends how you view it. So you have a central processing unit and you have memory. This memory again talks about something. You'll have the RAM and the ROM and many types of ROMs and things like that. Why we are talking about all these things? Even today the amount of RAM is so important. Even today the amount of RAM is so important, and the other important thing is the clock speed. Whatever device we are purchasing or reviewing, we would like to know how much RAM it has got, what's the speed of the clock. Clock gives the cycles, clock cycles, or something that's varying for this processor, so the RAM is the one which is the local memory or the temporary memory, you could call it, and that's where many of the things would be cached in. You put into that. So I'm basically talking about this hardware fundamentals. So all these things without the software, so-called software, OS, application, others, are just like a bones or a skeleton, or at the most they will do whatever is just hardware things we planned or we just said. That's just hardware. So this software adds a lot of things and enables the network, or enables the systems, or enables the hardware in a very, very big way. So coming back to if it is an operating system, so that's the one which makes the underlying hardware, enables the hardware. So only if we write that software, we call that as a system software. That's a system software. So who writes it, and whether we will be able to write with the language what we are learning today, the programming language Python, we will come to that. Okay. So after you have the operating system, that means that enables the hardware, and you can use the hardware along with the operating system to do certain tasks. The task can be to solve a problem. To solve a problem. What is this problem? This problem could be as simple as you would like to have a GUI. You're developing a window, or you're writing a shell script, or you're writing a test suite or a test program. So in order to write these things in whatever language, these are all we are terming them as a problem solving, or these tasks. So basic things, operating system has to be there, and that system must provide some other tools to enable us to develop any of these problem solving tasks. So these tools, we do categorize them as development tools, or you could call test tools, or you could call them as a support tools. Whatever name you give, these are the tools. Of course, all these tools are software, or software plus a dongle, or USB connection, or whatever. So now the doubt comes, if you have a development tool, and that's what we sometimes call development environment on an operating system. Development environment. What are we developing? We are developing a solution for a problem. It could be in Python, it could be in Java, it could be in C, whatever. So nowadays the development environments are advanced. In the beginning days, we definitely used to have something called pretty basic compiler, and today we have Jupyter Notebook, for example, to talk about the Python. Okay, so Jupyter Notebook, it provides almost everything, and you just write a piece of language what we learned, and then it guides you, helps you to get the results. Test tools, again, there are plethora, plenty of tools or plenty of software tools available to test whatever is written by ourselves or by someone else. Support tools, we talk about, these could be the ones to debug the software, or the program. So all these things are available. We get a basic question now. So we are understanding there is some development environment, which runs on operating system, and we are now trying to give all this introduction to programming. So we get a fundamental thing. What is this programming and a programming language? Do we need it or we don't need it? Do we need this programming language or we don't need a programming language? Well, to start with, a language that we are aware of is required in the real world to communicate between a person to another person or persons. So this is the language for whatever is the language, traditional languages. I speak English the way I am doing now. I am expressing or communicating something with you all people who are there in the class, and therefore I learnt all this. You also learnt it, and that's how you are able to understand my mind. So what I wanted to explain, I wanted to convey, I am using this language as a tool so that you are able to understand, and if you don't understand also, you are again using the same language to communicate back with me and say, look, I don't understand what you say. So definitely this is the one we have been using, and we were not specifically trying from childhood. We learnt it like a baby steps from parents, from the neighbors, from the system, all around, and that's what the language was meant for. And more specifically, I am thinking that I'm actually conveying something the way I want it, but what actually is happening is you are understanding it the way you want it, not necessarily the way I am intending to say. I hope it's not confusing. Okay, what I'm basically trying to say is we do have a language here, but this language is definitely not to communicate with the person, but we are trying to communicate a human to a person to, along with, okay, you are communicating this with operating system to perform certain tasks, and that's where the language we are using, that's, for example, say Python. So we use Python to write something, and that is understood by operating system, and the operating system performs the task in the way we intended to get performed. So the basic concepts of any programming language, they all came with this background, that it is to be understood. It is to be understood by someone there on the computer. That someone is the operating system or the things above the operating systems. It could be whatever is that. So we have different languages to speak with. There could be Java, that could be, it could be C, it could be C++, it could be anything, Smalltalk. There are so many computer languages. It could be Prolog. There are so many. So just like the way so many languages we do have in the world, and each language has got its own smartness, smarts, plus, or loopholes, or drawbacks, or whatever. So one of the languages should be too good to use at a particular scenario or a context. There is nothing like a best language in the world. I mean, nothing can be used for everything. So having said that, this is where the language comes into picture, and Python is one of the languages that is possible, that is used to communicate with the operating system. So that brings to a question, will Python help me to communicate with any operating system? Of course, there are so many operating systems, starting with the age-old Unix or Linux or Windows, or you have Android, or have iOS, and so on. Does it help me to communicate with these operating systems? The answer is yes. It helps. So then the common things we talk about, I'm going backward to development, testing, support, and things like that. So based on all this background, we start talking about, oh, I started working as a developer, or I'm doing testing. I do system testing, I do data testing, unit testing, black box testing, white box testing, network testing, so many testings I do. So what is the difference between, like, am I supposed to be, like, if I'm a test engineer, should I be using only the test tools? I'm not to be doing development? Or I'm a support engineer, should I be just doing the support over IBR or over a phone call or whatever and not doing anything of development or programming? There are no such boundaries. In fact, Python has actually broken all those boundaries, mashed all those boundaries, and anybody can program. If you want to, or if anybody wants to, anybody can program. It is something like we say ABCD, anybody can do it, right? Here ABCP, anybody can program. So what do we need to program? As we said, development need not be something you write a huge software and make a Microsoft Word or some other thing to run. It could be as simple as 3 lines of code or even 1 line of code. You write that code, you write that program and run it or execute it. Now I'm using another word here, saying execute, run the program. What does it mean by execute or run the program? Or run the program. So when we write the program using the language, any specific language, and that has got a vocabulary, syntax, just like our spoken languages, syntax, the rules, do's and don'ts. So we use all these things, etc., and we write a program in a plain English. We write that program in plain English, and that program has to be in such a way that the operating system understands. So the traditional, or rather few decades ago, when the programming really started, like with the BASIC and a COBOL or a Pascal or a C or whatever, we used to make an object code. This is machine specific. Machine in the sense whatever is the processor there. So it's eventually converted into object code. So the operating system nicely transports this onto the processor, saying these are the instructions you need to do. So you used to have compilers, cross compilers, even if you do in assembly or whatever. So the object code was the one which used to be given. Now with Python and Java, what we have is a bytecode. So I'm actually trying to cut short the big story into the small one that can be fit into the introduction session. Actually after the 1 hour I will have 5 minutes break. At that time also you can ask questions, any questions based on what we have learned, or the question that could be a futuristic landing into our next session or class. So the bytecodes, both Java as well as Python and many other languages, so they have a bytecode. So this bytecode has to be interpreted. So this is where in case of Java you have a JVM. There is a Java virtual machine. So in case of a Python you have a Python interpreter. So that converts. So this interpreter is something that we can compare to something that we can compare, not really, a translator. Like for example, a politician speaks in a specific language and we don't understand that language, and there is some middle person to translate that. There's a big difference between our translators, what we see around us, and the interpreter, what we see here. The translators in real life may actually twist something or give a different meaning or whatever it is. Sometimes they may say something what the actual speaker hasn't spoken, but the interpreter isn't like that. It really interprets as per whatever is the language. So why I am comparing an interpreter to translator? This is for the main thing people call about the speed. So even the speaker in the native language, for example, someone is speaking Hindi and I understand only Tamil. So the speaker gives a pass because he allows the translator to translate that into Tamil. For example, if I understand Hindi and I don't need a translator, or the speaker is speaking Tamil and I understand in Tamil, I don't need a translator. It is having high speed communication. So that's what the object code related stuffs were doing earlier. The programs with the object code, they were faster. The interpreter literally slows down. But things we need to understand is everything has got its own advantage. If it is so faster, for example, take C language and the compilers and the object code and the program written in C runs so faster. Why are we not using C everywhere today? It used to be everywhere, but then not any longer. There are some places C is no longer is used, can be used rather, it can't be used rather. Simply because there wasn't any big development after some time, it didn't catch up something that came on. It is like, you know, I still will be using anyway rather than anyways. This is a current generation word, anyways. But then I used to use anyway. So kind of didn't scale up. I sometimes use anyways, but most often use anyway. Anyway, coming back to this, that means there were a lot of advances after the C language actually, you know, did a lot of miracles, something like web programming, internet programming and all the things, and therefore we can't compare and we can't just say that I would like to learn some programming language or I would like to use some programming language and that is faster. So it all depends on what exactly need to be solved. If the problem that need to be solved requires very fast program and you have C as one of the choices, you would use or you could use C. But then you want a lot of power and reduce the programming effort, or speed is not a big issue, then anybody and everybody actually today would prefer to code in Python. So having explained that, this is what the bytecode we will get once you write in a program in using Java or Python. And we talked about development environment, and development can be as simple as one line program. And here I talked about the language. Every language will have some vocabulary, we have syntax and grammar to be precise. So all these things are possible. As a part of the language, they are there and that need to be learned. Now, we have spent around 30 to 40 minutes of time after we started the class. So we do have a break at Sridhar, let me know in case the break is there or not, allowed or not, but I'm just hinting them to have a break at around 8 o'clock, 1 hour after.
No issue.
Okay, yeah. So it's all depends on us, we can tune the program or we can tune the session the way we want it to be. So we have come from 30,000 feet saying that this was a system, and we said there was a hardware and there was a software, there was an operating system, there's a programming language, and program using a language. We have come down and we said execute or run the program. So this is where I was trying to explain execute or run the program, and then I moved on to the programming using the language. What do we mean by execute or run a program? So we have a bytecode or we have an object code. So object codes, as we said, object code are onto a specific platform. So the platform could be an Intel based system, or it could be another processor, or it could be ARM system, whatever. Whereas we have this bytecode. Bytecode is not the English what we used. It is more than that. It is interpreted. It can be interpreted. Okay. So this bytecode is not specific for any platform. So what do we mean? So that Python or a Java what you have written, the program, you can just put or install or copy onto any computer that has Python installed. Of course you can make executable also. So executable comes from executable. So executable in fact means you run that program, or you actually give the command at the operating system, and that will actually do some specific task and exit or may crash. Okay, nowadays crash is quite common or norm. So if the Python is installed, then you can run that code. Okay, now where are the things Python installed? Today you are having Cisco boxes with Python. Cisco boxes with Python installed. Not only Cisco, many other systems with Python installed. So once we come back to say Python installed, next thing comes is the version. What is the version of the software? This needs no explanation, because we know today the current version of our famous thing. What is that? COVID-19 and a vaccine, whatever. So if you say no, I had taken the Covishield, so oh god, that doesn't work for Omicron. So oh, I see. What is that? Version incompatibility. That's why you need to be having booster or some upgrade or something. So this version is pretty much important. There are Python versions. Today we are having some 3.x version, and what I actually taught earlier was 3.7.x version a couple of years back, 2018 in at MNI. So this is the version we will be using. Python 3.x, could be 3.6, 3. And there are no big differences. Only the difference between this and this, there are differences in the Python versions, and that versions and difference, as and when required, I will explain that to you. So our question is, how do I know which version is available, and should I be always having the latest version? This depends upon when we say execute or run. You are executing or running the program on target system. On the target system. Okay, now we are getting into, there is a development system and there is a target system, and if you have something like Cisco boxes, you have a production system. These are essential, that's why I'm actually giving these differences. Or development system ideally or recommended to be used only for development, and you could have a test system. A test system is where you have the developed software installed and test it on that particular system. A target system may have Python installed or may not have Python installed. So target system, production systems, small thin line difference. Production system, right now we are using Zoom as a production system. That means Zoom software, wherever it's installed, client as well as the server, it is a production system that you and me are using right now. So if they want to introduce something, a new change, or they want to test this production system, imagine the impact. Commercially not at all advisable to test a production system, not advisable. But if something is to be fixed or something is to be done quickly, there's a danger if you don't do that on a production system, then of course you may have to do it. Then comes why I'm explaining this target system. When I said Python in the Cisco box, so Cisco box is there and it is a part of the network, it's running the software whatever it is and it's doing its intended purpose, and somebody says that I would like to troubleshoot or access or take some data from that production system. Then next question, can I do that using Python or any other scripting? Yes, of course, possible. So the production system, you will be interfacing that using that Python interpreter sitting there. Target system is on which the software is supposed to run, may not be in the production mode yet. Development system is this where you write the code. You write the code or the program. So what is a test system? Test system are usually almost equivalent to the production systems. It's just that they are not used as the way they are to be used in the production. That means if you are using 20 servers or if you are using the WAN, LAN, everything in the production system, your test system should be at least 90 to 95% of that production system. Why do we do that? Because after the testing, the system would be released. So total software and the hardware, entire system, or only software. So it has to be as close or as similar to the production system as possible, and that's why we call that as a test system and very similar to the production system. Okay, coming back to execute or run the program, and we have the bytecode. We do Python install and you give a command and then the software runs on that system. Okay, so when you run the system or when you run the software, there could be two things that could happen. What are the two things that could happen? Simple. We run the software assuming that we are already a good programmer, and we run the program or execute the program, execution result is intended result or expected result, not intended result. So not intended result, we usually call this the bug, defect. Intended, of course, it's passed, system passed or doing what you wanted to do, and nothing more to be talked intended except the claps. So in case it is not the intended and this is not what you want to give it, then we do something called debug. After debugging involves you identify why you are getting a different result. Why different results? So whatever is called a bug from as a total packaged software, now we start debugging, understanding where are the errors. It's very similar to our spoken language. Instead of sit, we may say stand. Instead of you speak, you may say shut up. Okay, so we may have used completely opposite things. Something was intended and we used it in a different way. So we get something called programming errors. So programming errors, when we are doing baby steps, if you are not getting programming errors, that means you are not doing programming. Everybody will get at least one programming error when they are learning, at least one. That means plenty of errors do come. So how do we reduce this programming errors? Is by thorough, first thing is learning the program, the second one is practice. As we keep practicing, we get less and less number of errors. Now the question comes, if there are certain things like debugging, after debugging you identify where the issue is, then what we do? We do the correct. So this is where the big difference between the object code generating software to this bytecode software. So fixing or correcting is so easy. You don't have to send the entire box to some other factory in New York or New Jersey to fix a bug. So that's why the ease of, not only ease of development and ease of fixing or repair ready is so good with this bytecode languages. This is the key thing. Ease of programming or ease of development or fixing I mean correcting after debugging. This is where it's so easy. So now comes, where do we find this execution result? Maybe on the target system, maybe on a test system. Okay, now where do we fix it? Obviously, as a quick fix, you can correct it on your target system. You can see whether that is enabling the error to go. Then you can put back onto your development environment and store it, and have different versions of your own program and things like that. So the fixing or the correcting ability or the ease is very, very important. Got it? So that's a key feature of this Python right now, what we are landing into or moving into the programming part of that. So how do we then write a program, or how do we test it, or how do we verify that it is working? Very simple. So when we are learning, we learn with this 3 ampersand prompts, what we get at the Python black screen, it could be blue screen, or interpreter. So once the Python is invoked, these are the things you get. This takes commands, and the first command what you will be learning in Python is, or in any language, is how do we write a comment. So you write a comment like this and press enter key. I will be showing all these things in the next 1 hour. Okay, so I'll be talking about, and I'll be showing what tools we'll be using, and how we'll be progressing on all the things as an intro in the next part of the class. So this is where you give, if a comment, and just that is accepted, and you won't see any result. If you give, for example, 2 plus 3 and press the return key, then you will get a result before this prompt. That result is like this, and you will get the prompt back. So whatever these things we have given here, we call these things as commands. So where this word comes from, if you remember that C drive, and then you have this here, you give a command if you are still using this. Okay, so that's where they used to call as a DOS commands, DOS commands, disk operating system commands. So you are commanding the system to do something. The DOS commands, this word commands come from there. Okay, now having said that, these are the things for executing some program, and once it executed, you see that it works as intended or it doesn't work as intended. Then if it doesn't work, then you go and fix the code or fix that language part what you have written there, and then you rerun or re-execute. Once the program is successful, then you say this is a production version. Okay, this is what the production version, and production version is what you can say that anybody can use. So these are very, very high level intro, and as we move on to the next session, I'll be moving on to very specific to Python related. Okay, so what I would like, I know everyone must have understood all these things or know all these things already. You may not have any questions, but you may still ask some generic things like, oh, what if it is this, and I was using the test system and somebody said that that was not a test system. I was using target system, somebody said not that. I was using network protocol, no, I never used SNMP. Use SNMP as a software. Any question what you have, any, absolutely any question you have on that, you can feel free to ask or write. I can enable the sharing part here. That means you can actually annotate. You can remove that annotate part if you want. Okay, so you can actually do, if you, I mean, I don't think I can, I'm sorry, the sharing part, annotation part, I think Sridhar has to allow, not me. If Sridhar allows, you can write. I'm not sure if it is possible there. So you can write, annotate, or you can just ask me. I will resolve those doubts, whatever you have. Okay, so
sir, I have some queries really. So can I go ahead, sir?
yes.
So you were telling about that speed, right? Like comparing with other C, Python speed will be like less. Am I right, sir? Like,
yes, you are right.
so like why it is slow? Like any particular reason? Like why the C is faster and this is slower?
Very
Like,
simple. It's very simple actually. I mean, let me go back to the screen what I have used that speed thing, and from there I'll explain. So here is the place we use the faster and slower, faster and the speed and things like that. So this is to the lean and to the fat. So the object code is literally meant for that processor. It could be an Intel processor, it could be an AMD processor, whatever it is. It is literally communicating with the, for example, if we were to eat something and that has to be digested very fast, the best place to keep it is into the stomach. Just open and put there, and that will be digested in a snap. So when we actually take it through mouth and all the things, it will take a longer time. In a similar way, in fact, this is a benefit, not a disadvantage. It's in fact advantage. Python comes with lot of ready-made stuff. We call them standard library, packages, modules. They're all which are commonly used and required. They're already available as a part of the system that is installed, Python that is installed.
Okay.
So in order to pick that, in order to put all that stuff, right, it takes time.
Okay. Like, can I say, like, it, if we are giving input, it will check everything like that, or how it will?
It will check. It will check. In fact, it is parsed. We call that as a parsed.
Okay.
It is parsed. Okay. So similar, very similar to, as I said again, that interpreter, translator, and that person in between has to actually look for the real Tamil words, like what exactly I should put this Tamil word for this equivalent to Hindi.
Okay.
He'll be doing that a little bit time, but then he may get a right word. He may get a very appropriate word. That's in fact as an advantage.
Okay. So you mean to say, if we type something, it will check everything instead of one by one, right? Like, I can say it like that, sir.
A good question. A good question. Yeah, good question. So you are asking like whether it will go and search entire Python installation to look for what is this.
Correct. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. So definitely that search is reduced. Meaning,
Okay.
for example, you say you are using the math module. We just say import. We use that import math. Okay. So by literally specifying this, you are actually localizing the search. Okay. When we say import math, so, and you are using square root or trigonometric sine function, it won't search the entire thing, it only search into the math module. Got it right?
Yeah.
So yes, it does search, whereas in case of C, that is actually given along with the, again you have a C header files and the things like that. The header files again have the prefixed object code. So here it is not into the prefixed object code, but it's in the byte code. Okay, compiled byte code. Because of that, it takes more time.
Okay, it will import and it will implement like that again.
Yeah, actually, that's correct. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, if you make it executable, for example, if you make a Python code executable, that is where, when do we need the Python code executable? 0.001% of the time in reality. Why?
Okay.
Because when you have a translators, why should Narendra Modi or some Rahul Gandhi to learn Tamil unless to impress someone, right? Because you got the translators everywhere. You got the Python interpreters, Python systems installed almost everywhere.
Okay. I got it.
So that's what is this. Yes. Any other question?
The crash you were telling, right?
Oh, you got that word, okay.
No. Like whatever you said from that point, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to go deeper. Just want to know, why the crash is happening. When you are telling, if we type the code wrongly, it will come, or when we type it multiple times, we will get a crash. Just I need a one-line thing only, because I also face the crash part in some kind of situation, but I don't know how Python will impact to see the crash. I mean, you are telling on the coding side or on the box? Just that I just wanted to know, like how it will, how on what aspect the crash will crash.
Okay.
You were telling me.
Okay. So first the generic answer, then we go to the specific answer.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Generic answer first is it occurs in almost all the systems, and most of the time the crash is due to the memory issue.
Okay.
Due to the memory issue, it's given even on Android, iOS, take it for granted, and some app got crashed. Okay? It is due to the memory issue. Okay. So actually, the way the crash appears to be is taking infinite amount of time, or just die.
Okay.
So this die happens because they have put the timeout and they exit in the program.
Okay.
But some people, they don't put the timeout. They will just say program not responding. Okay, that's what you will see.
Okay. Okay.
It is not responding. That means that they have written in such a way the code. Okay, you don't wait. You keep waiting forever. You are looking for something. There is no memory. There's nothing is available. That's it. That fellow takes infinite amount of time, and you have to kill it.
Okay.
The kill it is happening from the operating system.
Okay.
Okay. Now you have a question. What if operating system crashes? Very similar reason. Operating system also crashes for a very similar reason.
Correct.
Okay. It could be like opening a socket. There are no sockets available. A server crashed. The results are getting declared, and 10,000 IP connections are allowed, and people for a minute or whatever, and you have 1 million collections trying to open the socket. So there will be some finite amount of time. After that, operating system says give up.
Okay.
So the crash can be that. So these memory issues, if you actually look backward and you ask now the specific answer, is it the language, the way I have programmed, or is not the language? Okay.
Correct.
So the answers are very simple. Okay. Is the application crashed or the system crashed? Application or system crashed? Which one crashed? Okay. So a crash I'm using even for dying or infinite, no response, same word I'm using for all the things. Okay. If it is an application crash, most likely in your program or our program would have an issue. Okay. If it is a system crash, it could be the interface, meaning the integration. How you are using
this is a box issue. The top one is a program issue. Like
Program issue.
Writing.
Correct.
And the second one is okay.
Correct.
Got it.
Right. So just I'll give you more details as well.
Yeah.
So in fact, if you are using C language, for example, and why we are having less crashes with Python, you still have, but so if you are using C language, there was something called malloc. This is like you have to use in that. This is called memory allocation. And there is something called calloc, clear that allocation, or cache allocation, clear that. No. So all these memory related things were, or the crashes due to memory on PCs reduced pretty much after Bill Gates actually took over the Microsoft and things like that. And thanks to the memory processors or the DRAMs, SDRAMs, or all those things, the developments in hardware by South Korea, they were giving a powerful, faster, more capacity memories and things like that. So these are all gone. Okay. And even today, if someone writes a C program, and this is where if they don't use this thing properly, the crash is inevitable. And the programmer really hates when the program and when it crashes. Okay. And if it is again at the production system, forget about, company name is gone and our job is gone. Sometimes it will be that catastrophic. Okay. And you may ask a question: does the crash happen because of less programming knowledge, or I'm not an expert programmer. Not necessarily. Even expert programmer could create or could write some buggy software. No one is immune. Okay, so it's possible. Okay, so but then with the Python, when you are having, see, when you are actually telling that you can't pick up anything what you want, you have to use these things like import and things like that. Okay, the chances of that are very, very, very less from the programming or application crash. Very less.
Correct.
Very, very less, I can say. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. So now we can have a 5-minute break, or maybe less, whichever. Okay. Then we will move on to the programming, the Python intro. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I still have some doubts. I'll
ask. No problem.
No.
The break is for you, not for me. Actually, yeah.
No. Everybody has to take break also. I like after that also I can.
You can ask now. You can ask.
Okay. Well, actually, that you were telling about that Python installed in Cisco box, right? Like, I'm first time I'm hearing like Python is installed in Cisco, because I didn't get a chance to work on Cisco box. Even I did CCNP, but only for studying purpose I did Cisco products. But in my career, I didn't. Like there are two, Cisco based and IEEE based. So almost my career, I got a chance to work on IEEE based products only. So like it doesn't have Cisco proprietary. Cisco uses both. So when you were telling about the Python install, just wanted to know, because so our codings they are doing C, like C they were doing it, but how the Python will understand that? But one thing I understood, that yes, they were using for that SNMP, netconf and all, they were using Python, that they will implement that. So only that way they can implement Python, or the whole coding they can the Python will understand. Like, so the code CLIs are, the codings are in C. That is what I know. So even though I did manual testing, but I know like at some level, okay, they are doing it C. That is the only point I know as a tester. But I don't know how really they have how they are working with Python. That really I don't know. And first time I'm hearing Python is installed in Cisco. So that's why I don't know like how it will work. So just wanted to know.
Yeah, sure. So you have an embedded part in the Cisco box. Whatever is that programming that was written in C. Usually C. Okay, it can be if it is Cisco or any other box. Okay, it could be Juniper Networks box also. Okay, so embedded parts most often written in C, because they probably have used some Linux kind of a thing.
Correct.
Internally. Okay.
Then
the Python was ported. The Python interpreter or Python installation is Python installed on this. Python is installed on this, the operating system they are using in the box. Okay, if it is a Linux or even their own operating system, Cisco's operating system, Python was available for that, or is available for this, and therefore you have a Python installation. Now your question at that time, earlier they were using some APIs to communicate with the embedded part using a C or whatever, using the command line. Okay, so that's what is allowed from Cisco box. This probably is very limited. This, in fact, CLI actually communicates with the operating system and whatever is the C program they have written, okay, and enables you to execute certain commands to understand what is the trace or things like that. With the Python installed, you are having an abstraction. That means you don't have to go at this level, you are going at a higher level.
Okay.
That means it's opening the door for many people, not only for the people who know the CLI, but then for the other people as well. Number one. Number two, even for the people who are experts, network engineers or the network testers or the network developers, it is making the job easy, because Python is not only useful for Cisco, but it is for many other things. So learning a Python, learning or having knowledge of Python helps anyone. Okay, so it is there. The box.
Sorry. Yeah, please go.
You can just Google it. Actually, the latest version of the routers must be coming with the Python. I believe it was 2.7 in 2020. They probably would have upgraded to 3.x.
Okay, sir. So you mean to say, so we can communicate with the device in a two-way, that is CLI and Linux.
Yeah.
Previously, Linux was not implemented. Now they have implemented in Linux also, like through Linux. We can.
Yeah, on any Linux version, Python can be installed.
Okay, so this will be embedded on top of that, or it will be a separate, like embedded part on top of that. This software they will install, or it will be a slightly different, like it will be a different way to access. Because I just wanted to know, like.
Okay. Good. So accessing port wise, first thing, accessing port wise is just the access port is you need to connect a terminal to the Cisco box or the net. That's the same. There is no change in that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you will get a Python prompt, and you can actually use a Python commands there. Okay, that's the one. And the question was whether it is to be installed by us or it comes with the box. It comes with the box, and I don't think we will be able to change the version.
No, that is not my question, sir. Like there are two types, right? Like embedded, you said embedded part, they have done it in C. That is one way, that is already embedded. Okay, now they want to introduce Python also. So this will be a separate way, or on top of embedded part, they will implement on top of it. Okay. That is what.
Yeah. Okay. Because they wanted even the support functions from the Cisco company is easy. Like they can actually say that, if for example customer says that I'm not able to do this, debug this, your box, and I'm having problem, then on the other hand Cisco support team will just say that, so you know Python, then I'm going to give you a few lines of code, you run this code on your switch, you will be able to resolve the issue.
Okay.
That's how the status as of now. Okay. But to be very honest, I haven't interfaced or interacted with anyone who has used this. This is my knowledge from reading, not from using. Okay. I have not used. Okay, but it is available. Okay, that much.
Actually, I used it, but at certain level. I used it, but at certain level. Instead of as an input comes, I used it like it's a manual thing only. So
no, I mean Python on the box. In the box, I haven't used the Python in the box.
Okay, understood, sir.
Yeah.
So and last one thing, sir. So that programming errors you were telling, right? That 2+3, it will be a production this one, right?
I'm coming to that screen. Yeah, this is the one you are seeing, right?
Yeah. So that's a production based, which means it is already completed inside. Like whatever you are giving, that will give us the output of us. That is what, right?
Coming. Explaining. This is actually is interactive interpreter mode. Interactive interpreter mode. Meaning, even though we can write huge programs at this prompt, this is a prompt, but this is usually for commands, and this is like when we are learning, during the learning stage. Okay, so how actually happens? For example, you are at this prompt, Python is installed. Python files source code end with extension .py. If it is a .pyc, that's a compiled or a byte code. This is used by system, but this is what we use in English. Okay, so xyz.py. So we simply say Python, and of course you have to give the complete source where your file is stored, xyz.py. So whatever is in this file, it will be executed and you will get the result here.
Okay. Okay, sir.
This is what actually we will be using as we maybe from the next class onwards actually.
Okay.
Meaning okay, that's the environment I'll be talking about this after the break. Okay, what is that language I'll show you, and what's the interpreter, okay, interactive interpreter, both the things I'll be giving more details in the next session. Okay,
Yeah. Yes.
so I'll have a cup of water, glass of water, and then we can restart the session 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Sir. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks.
I'm putting on mute.
Sure.
Hello, everyone back?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are seeing, I'm actually sharing the screen. You can see that Python 3.6.5 shell on the top of the screen.
So we have to install this, sir.
See, you are seeing here Python.
Yeah.
Oh, how do I invoke this? How do I get this? Okay, so we have to install Python. How do we do that? We go to python.org. Okay, and you don't need to do this now. I think let's have this intro, then
Okay.
I can send you offline the details and things like that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
we have entire tomorrow to actually get back onto this. Okay,
Okay.
but let me, I just want to have the first day's taste or flavor of this entire thing. That's why, the intro is not that, this I won't explain how I got this and all. No such thing. I will do all that stuff. Okay,
Okay, sir.
so this is, they call it as a shell, and if you are seeing this prompt, this is the interpreter prompt. Okay, one I think message I'll just write to Sridhar, or if Sridhar is it. Sridhar, this part I don't have a PDF. This part of the soft I won't get a PDF, but the Blackboard I am using, that I'll get a PDF. This, if required, take screenshot. Required, take screenshot. Okay, so this is interpreter prompt. As I said, this comes with the 3 greater than symbols, and you see this is a version. This is the version number. So there are only differences between 2 and 3. There is no big issue whether it's 3.6 or 3.9 or whatever version. You don't need to be bothered about. Of course, there will be changes every day. They'll be releasing it in a phased manner. We don't need to have, just like Android or whatever, you don't need to have the latest and the greatest to do the programming part. Okay, also don't worry too much. Oh, they said this is 2018. Probably if I update again today, I haven't updated, I probably will have a different date here. Okay, and so this is the version number, and this is a with the major version number and the minor with all the things, details are given here. Nobody, in no interview also, they will ask the questions on these things. You don't need to be bothered about. If you know also, you are not anyway the greatest person. If you don't know also, nobody says that, oh, you don't know this. Okay, you just need to be knowing 3.6.5 shell. So we have 2 things here. One is that interpreter, and the second one is the programming environment, the simple source file editor. So editor software is very essential for any programming language. In fact, this shell gives the editor. If you press this file here, you can open a new window. I am pressing that file here. So here it says new file, open module, recent files, whatever. This entire thing is actually called IDLE, Integrated Development Environment. So you will see IDLE, about IDLE. If you do this, here they will write Python's integrated development and learning environment. So as I said, if you go to this docs.python.org or go to python.org, you can get the latest version from there. Okay, in this he gives the Python version here and the TK version. TK is again open source software, and that's what they are using. The IDLE version is almost same as the Python version. Okay, you have a readme about this further, and the credits to the people who had worked on this. Okay, so and you will see that there is a 32-bit version or the 64-bit version, what are the particular changes what they have in that different versions. So this is that IDLE, this entire thing is IDLE. Okay, so when they say integrated, so that means when you open something here, you will be able to, for a while, I think the window focus would be changed, meaning I will actually show that also by saying the different share. I am not sure you are able to see the new window. Okay, so this is the new window I am showing now. So you are seeing this new window here. So this is where we'll just say my first program. So if you do that as this and you save this file, save as, and you save that file. Okay, so save as, and again you may not be able to see the window unless I show the entire screen. Okay, I will share that also right now. So I am sharing that as a first, like MNI 1. So now you see on the top you will have the program users through desktop MNI 1.py. So I have this my first program, I have typed it. Okay, so we will see what this file gives. Okay, so I will just say I equal to 2. I'll try to run this program, run module. So it will ask whether to be saved or not. So I'll better share now the entire my window, system window. Okay, so this is what I have. So now we are seeing entire thing, I suppose. Thiru, you are able to see entire thing, right? You are seeing the background shell, you are seeing the
Yes.
mn1.py, right? So this is a comment. My first program is a comment, and that is with a hash prefix. I equal to 2. So just does I equal to 2, doesn't display anything, no result. So I do the run, I run this module. So see, this is the output, nothing you see here. This is the output window, you are not seeing anything here. See, nothing is visible here. Okay, so if you do that, and this is what is the program I wrote. Okay, nothing is visible, rather no output is there. Okay, so how do I get something? That's what I said. This is your Python source file, mni1.py. If I have to get the Python interpreter, so this is what I am giving. See, I say ideally Python. Okay, I got this ideally Python, but first thing that comes is a shell. So this is the shell what you are seeing. This is the interpreter. So here I give, for example, I equal to 2. I equal to 2. Here also it just accepted, but nothing response, no response. Now I say I. It has stored and put in a blue color, the value is 2. I give here my first Python program. It took it. It didn't display anything. It didn't store as well, probably, because how do I get back? Do I get back this? So how do I get back this? So it's a comment, it's not to be processed. Now the next question, I give I equal to, my name is Raw. So if you observe, I have put entire thing in some quotes, I equal to something, and I put it in quotes, no error. So I am giving one line command, no error. I press I, it says my name is Raw. What happened to I equal to 2? It is overwritten with the latest assignment. This equal to symbol, this equal to symbol is used to assign a value to the variable. So equal to is used to assign a value to the variable. So this brings us to understand what are this vocabulary, the variables value, what is this, right? Now I'll be switching over to the other Blackboard screen to explain those values or variables and things like that, and some of the program fundamentals part. Any questions on this? I will come back as and when required to this. Any question on interpreter or on the shell?
No, sir.
No, right? Okay. Now I will be, so this interpreter is used to actually have a hands-on learning part. Okay, the file is when you are ready to write a bigger programs, that's where we use the file. Okay, so so we are back into, sorry, this one is not writing, the board. The first and foremost part is vocabulary. This is my word, the way I am writing it, not necessarily that every book or every document related to Python will say that it's a vocabulary. Certain things required from the language perspective. The first and foremost is a variable, a value, okay, and of course I will come to the other parts. So this variable is same as the what we learned in algebra, the same name or the same meaning. Okay, whatever we learned in algebra, same meaning. The difference was in algebra, when we were giving only some numbers. So the value is what we actually put on the right side, and variable is what we put on the left side. So this entire thing becomes a statement. So value generally can come from an expression. An expression gets evaluated. Evaluated means gets a value. It's the same meaning as in the math. So if you have a square plus b square and you give that as an expression, you substitute the values, whatever it is, or 2 square plus 3 square, it's an evaluated. So evaluated, that means gets a value. Whatever is that value gets stored into the variable. Value gets stored into the variable. In variable. So whatever is the latest statement, or rather, in fact, you can precisely call this as assignment statement, because you are assigning a value to the variable. Assigning a value to the variable. Okay. So is it anything great here with the Python? Can't I do this in my calculator with some intelligent calculator? You can do that. You can in fact have memory, and whatever the calculations what you do in a calculator, you can recall, you know, some 20 steps, 100 steps backward, and something you can store also, some intelligent calculators can store. But this is very fundamental. The interpreter, this one, can evaluate, keyword is evaluate, the expressions and gives the result. What do I mean? I mean, if I have straight away 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2 without equal to here, this is an expression. This is an arithmetic expression. See how I am writing. This is an arithmetic expression. Why the word arithmetic? Arithmetic is simply, if there are values, then it's arithmetic. If it is no values, it's an algebra basically. That's how the math fundamentals are. So the moment I put equal to, this is no longer an expression, but this is an expression without equal to symbol. So we will give the same thing now onto the interpreter and see what I will get. Okay, so whatever is the interpreter evaluates, and how it evaluates, what is that uses as a guide. Whatever is a Python program rules are, okay, how the Python program was written to evaluate these expressions. Okay, by the way, this plus is a symbol, minus is a symbol, so there are symbols as well as operators, right? We call these symbols in language as operators because some operation is done, and whatever is there by the side of operators, that means plus is an operator. Whatever is on both sides of this plus, for example, I give 2 plus 3, these are called operands. This is nothing specific to Python. This is generic math. So 2 and 3 are operands. Plus is an operator. This is an addition operator. So along with the vocabulary, we will have, or we will learn, what are all the symbols that are used in Python, and what the plus indicates, and what the minus indicates, and what some forward slash or percentage, all these symbols are to be learnt as a part of the language. Now going back to the interpreter, as I said, 2 plus 3 minus 6, we want to do that. So let me see exactly whatever I have given here should be 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2. So you are seeing the interpreter screen. So I am saying 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2. This is an expression. Observe how I am giving the comment at the end here. This is an expression. So whatever you see as a result in the blue colored, 2 plus 3, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 minus 6 is 1. So the expression got evaluated. The expression was evaluated as per Python language. And that's what you will see there. If I give same thing, I equals to 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2. See, last time when I gave I equal to my name is MLN Rao, it just took it and it didn't give any response. It gave response only I prompted or asked what is the I. A similar thing would happen now. So the expression on the right side, that is 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2, is evaluated, and that value is stored into the variable I. I initially we stored 2 in I. Later we have overwritten that with my name is MLN Rao, and then we have used expression 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2, and I say now what is this I? I gives value 1. So what and all we talked for last 5 minutes or so is values, variables, expressions, evaluation. Value, variable, of course symbol, rather operator. So equal to is an assignment operator. Now we can coolly say equal to is an assignment operator. In Python. So evaluated expression, so to be precise, what we will do is a value equal to an evaluated expression. So in other words, the expression can be a simple some constant, like they call literals. We call them as a literals expression or a literal. Literally, that the way we speak English, right? So you don't need to be explaining what is 2. Okay, so I equal to 2. Okay, 2 is a numeric literal, number literal, numeric literal. Okay, similarly, my name is MLN Rao. This is something which is in quotes. Also, it is called a string. The string, so within quotes, the quotation means something to Python. How long, how big I can give? Absolutely no limit. It just need to be within quotes. Now, having said all this value, expression, variable, and evaluation, what if I give something like this? I equal to my name is that's it. So this is, as I said, this interpreter is a tool, very primitive tool. That means not as it doesn't speak out and say, oh look Mr. Rao, you are now learning interpreter usage in Python, all these things. It doesn't speak, it doesn't do any dance, no animation, nothing. It's a pure good old text with the maximum colors. Why is like that? Because this is open source free software. So you will have a free ride, maybe from your home to office. Very difficult if the office and home are quite far off. And when someone says I'll give you a free ride if you buy Amazon 100 rupees worth, if you imagine that, oh, the ride is in a helicopter, that means they will drop you from home to office by helicopter, then you are, I think, in a different world, right? They will probably drop you by just in a bullock cart or something like that. I'm just joking, okay? They may just give the cheapest thing as a free thing. This itself is a big thing anyway. So since this is given as a free and they haven't spent much to make it as a jazzy or very highly user-friendly interpreter, so whatever is given in blue is the result. So when you ask for what is I, and whatever is given in the blue here, that's a result.
So one doubt, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. So you mean to say if we are giving value directly, we can give like I is equal to 2, and if you are giving in words, we should use the double quotation.
Exactly. We should use the double quotes. Now I stopped after giving single quote. I just stopped. I'll be explaining to you what a simple error could be. Okay. So yeah, I'll just type this. So what you are seeing is syntax error EOL while scanning string literal. So you recall what I said when I said this is a literal, okay, which is a literal. So this is a literal. This entire thing is a string literal.
Okay.
So this is an integer literal. This is an integer literal. I'll come into more details about the data types when I explain the next class. Okay. So they use the things like a very primitive thing they call literal. Okay. That's why I also used literal or expression. You see on the right side. So I gave my name is, but then his simplest grammar is that you need to have quote starting and you need to have quote ending. Start quote and end quote. So there is no end quote here in this. So, but then what do you mean by EOL? So EOL is, can you guess?
End of line.
Very good, correct. That's it. So end of line. Okay. So end of line. So this comes from computer science or programming fundamentals. What is line? So we have the carriage return or line, right? Enter key. So the moment we press enter key, that code has gone to the interpreter. It has expected this and then the enter key. But then we give only enter, and that's why syntax error while scanning string literal. So that is how a simple error could come. So this error is not big, and when you are using the interpreter, it will come as many times as you could expect when you are using interpreter. So this is interactive. As I said, this is interactive. That's why you are getting this immediately. You are getting immediately. Okay. So if I give now I, what do you expect I to have? My name is ... or I has got value 1.
1.
Obviously, because yes, because it hasn't overwritten. Yeah, it's because you got the error there. So nothing is written into the variable. The variable stay put with the whatever was the latest.
Yeah.
Okay. So now going back to the crash and the crash dumps or the debugging or whatever we call it. Okay. So a software has crashed, and then you see a window. We want to send this crash dump to the the company, to Microsoft or whatever. Would you allow? Then they will send, right? So they will send whatever was the pre-crash values of the variables, certain key variables. That's what the crash dump would have, some register values or some of the variables, things like that. Got it, right? So the crash dump will always give whatever was the latest evaluated expression value or the stored value. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And what will happen if we use single quote instead of double quote?
Good question. These are all that syntax right, I think. Single quotes both ways, right? Single quotes, double quotes, triple quotes, all are allowed.
Oh, okay. Which means same meaning for all.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I just see this.
Okay, sir.
Okay, then I said I allowed, and then now I see the I value. Okay, allowed. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are at 8:54. Another 5 minutes. I would be, because you are curious to actually do this on your own. Okay, so what you will be doing is you will be downloading the latest Python. If you are comfortable with download and install on your systems, you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to ask this. So
Yeah, it depends upon which one we are downloading. Something will have some restriction, something may not have.
yeah. You can go to the python.org.
1 second. Actually, my laptop is slightly slow.
No problem. Mine is slower. Mine is 12 years old.
Okay. Yeah. So it's coming. So in between, I just want to ask one simple doubt, sir.
Yes.
Like how, like apart from this, one generic doubt. Like how the network engineers Python and network tester Python differs, like any, like, because I'm always wondering, like I heard that network engineers also doing Python, so network testers also they'll be doing Python, but how it differs for them, or it is similar only?
First answer is similar.
Okay.
First short answer is similar. Okay. But see, it's as simple as that. Like, after we learn driving, bike or car, whichever. Okay. So, which gear you go, how fast you go, and what kind of maneuvers you do with the vehicle. This is specific to the requirement, right?
Yeah.
So some people may just go at a first gear. Maybe it's a crowded street or whatever. Some people may just go in a fifth gear or highest gear, whatever is possible. Okay. So the language is same for all. The language and the usage is the same for all network engineer as well as others, or even a developer, anyone. It's the same. Environment also is same. The running environment is also same. But the purpose for which you are using this language could be different. Okay. Now you are I am actually seeing this on my mobile. You see the Python.
Python.org went actually download for Windows Python 3.10.1.
Correct. That is the one you can download. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's better to have the latest version. That's why better to have, but doesn't mean that you must have. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, mine is the RAM is slow, so that's why.
Don't worry. Yeah, you don't need to do now. Okay, that's the place. You can do this as tomorrow if you want to play with that. By the time we start the Wednesday class, you want to come back with some doubts or some inquisitive questions. That's why I'm giving that information. Okay.
So one doubt. So you were telling like quotation, single, double, triple, everything same. So in between, like I mean, any other symbol will not.
Those are the things we'll be talking about, the syntax and more about the language. Okay. So see, I'm typing now another one. Okay. So, and this is my usual way. I put the question mark or something, and then give that kind of inquisitive thing to the student. Then they may say 50-50. No, I don't think it will accept. I think it will accept, or something like that. They'll give the mixed answer.
One quotation or another set double quotation like that.
Yeah.
So I can try it. Yeah, definitely.
See, so it's said. But then the response, you look at that, right? In all the three cases, you look here. First one I gave with a double quote. It still give you the answer as a single quote.
Okay. Correct.
In the second case, I gave with a single quote I equal to allowed, it still gave with a single quote only. The response is same. Okay. With the triple quote also it's the same. Only one difference between now what we are ending the class today to what we are starting on Wednesday is we have talked about the string literal, but that is only to create interest. But we will be talking about the string literals not in the next immediate class, but way off. We will be talking about data types and the numbers. Numbers itself will take almost 1 hour stuff. Okay. Numeric data processing is what we'll be focusing in the Wednesday's class. Okay. So don't get surprised that you told me about the strings, quotes, double quotes and all. What happened to that quotes and all? So you may wonder. Since it's the intro session, I just wanted to give that also today.
Definitely.
Okay. Any questions? It's about time to stop the session. Any questions you have?
Rao sir, Shrikant here. Hello?
Tell me, Shri.
So here the I is equal to, you said that 2 plus 3 minus 6 plus 2, that one, right? 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. We'll be getting 3 now, sir. Then why we got 1 there?
It's a good question. I will definitely be covering more on this in the next class, but for now, in math, what we learned in the lower classes, they used to call out some BODMAS or something like that, the order of processing. BODMAS is brackets of division, multiplication, addition, subtraction or something like that. Okay. And then there are different mnemonics. There is something called PEMDAS also is there, some PEDMAS also, P again parenthesis, exponentiation, like that. Okay. We do have that order of precedence of operations in Python language as well. So that we will be covering. So when we actually talk about that, why this is happening now, the different result is, first thing is left to right we are going. In left to right in the expression, that means the leftmost is 2 plus 3, right? So in the leftmost, whatever you get between A and S are like equal important cousins. They are at equal level. For example, subtraction comes when we are going from left to right first. Subtraction will be done. It is not that, oh, I have to do first addition, so skip subtraction. No. Shall I repeat? Understood? All right, shall I repeat?
Once again, sir.
So we first hit plus 2 plus 3.
Sir.
Oh, you are sharing some. You are sharing something?
No, sir. No, sir. No,
okay. So in 2 plus 3, we hit the plus first.
Okay.
So it is done addition 5.
Okay.
Then that expression is reduced to 5 minus 6 plus 2.
5 minus 6
plus 2. Okay.
Plus 2.
In a 5 minus 6 plus 2, right? So the next level or the next pass, we call that, right, will be in the next level of operation 5 minus 6 plus 2. Now again we are going from left to right.
Okay.
Now what we hit is 5 minus 6.
Okay.
Got it right? So you got minus 1.
Yes. Okay.
So then this gives the plus 1.
Plus 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, sir.
Got it right? Yeah.
Got it.
Who was this? Shrikant, is it?
I'm Shrikant.
Shrikant, okay, yeah. Right. Did I see you earlier? Maybe I forgot.
I was working in M1.
Shrikant. Oh, yeah. Good to chat. I understood. Okay. Nice to talk to you again. Now when you say I used to, then I got your voice, that actually, yeah.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions?
No, sir. From
yes, sir. I have one question.
Yeah.
The string we have put in the quotations, right? Like I equal to.
Yes. This one?
If you put the string in either single quotation or double quotation or triple quotation, the output is showing with a single quotation. That's what we can see there.
Yes.
So now my question is, the value of the string will not be include the code, right? It is start from the dot only, right? Value of the string.
Good question. Now the value, if you say that the value means whether it is a string literal value or integer literal value. Okay, because it is a string literal, they will include the quotation to show us that it is a string literal. If they don't use that quote, single quote, that becomes name of a variable. Shall I repeat?
It is kind of representation, the quotes, to say that it is string.
Okay, see, yeah, they have to be using the quote. I'll tell you the reason why. I am now taking another one, raw equal to I. So left side no quotations, right side no quotations. Correct? So in both these cases, raw and I, or the left case is raw, it is a variable because you are first time using that. I is an evaluated expression. I gets evaluated along with the quote, and that's why when I give raw, I will see whatever was evaluated for I is what is assigned to raw, and that's why you are seeing that. Understood the difference, right? The code.
Yes.
Good. So if no other question, then I would probably end today's session.